Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sons of Ours podcast again. I am your summer host, Jacob Machado, here with
Tony Davis.
Tony Davis. It's been about 2 weeks since we got together. What have you been up to?
True. I have been busy. Parish life, I have officially started about 3 weeks ago now, and it's been incredible. I mean, everything. They threw a huge party for me. I'm at Ascension Parish in Montbello. My first weekend, they threw this huge rager. The whole parking lot was shut down. They called it a bazaar, something like a fundraiser for the parish. I just chose to assume that it was for me. But they had
Week one, Tony Davis is here, Gringo.
Exactly.
Let's celebrate.
Yeah, they had like 12 bands or 15 bands and the best food I've had in forever. It was incredible. We had this Eucharist procession on Saturday because, Ascension Parish. It was the Feast of the Ascension. And it was the most incredible thing I've ever been a part of. I mean, it was like Jesus in the Eucharist walking through Montbello neighborhood with, Guadalupe dancers, and like 15 horses for some reason. I loved it. It was incredible. It was really beautiful to be able to be a part of bringing the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ through this neighborhood that, objectively has a lot of problems. And just to see the response of the people coming out on their porches, most of them kneeling before the Blessed Sacrament as it's hailing on us. It was a hailstorm in the afternoon. It was incredible.
Wow.
So that's how I started my summer assignment at Montbello. That was like the third day when I was there. So they set the bar pretty high, and it has not dropped in the past 3 weeks. So
Yeah, I've been at Centro de San Juan Diego, and they still remember you from last year.
Nice. I make an impression with all the stupid things I do.
I was just told the director of the English second language classes said it took like 2 months to get the teacher's book back from you last year.
That's slander, defamation. That's not true. Except for it's totally true.
But,
in my defense, she gave it to me and I never used it. So,
yeah. Well, if you never use it, how are you going to know where it is?
Exactly.
The ESL class, that's been my favorite part of Centro. Just hanging out with it. It's just, I kind of speak Spanish, and these people are learning English, and so there's just a lot of opportunities for a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes that I say things that I didn't mean to say. And
of course. You got to be careful with certain words.
Oh, yeah.
But this is your first summer assignment, right? Because last year you were in SY, did your 30-day silent retreat, and then you got some vacation time before coming back and starting your studies.
Correct. I think we have like 6 weeks or something after the 30-day where this is kind of on your own, which honestly was not super fun because this is kind of like idle time.
Yeah.
So I was super excited to have something, and Centro has just been a blast.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
I was kind of in the afternoons we chat about the day, and then the day before, and then sometimes have somebody telling us something about the ministry, the outreach or something, and then we kind of...
What did they do at Centro? Fill everybody in.
Centro de San Juan Diego is an initiative started in 2003 by Archbishop Chaput and Bishop Gomez at the time, who's now the Archbishop in L.A., and they saw the growing need for the Hispanic community to have kind of a communal space, a center to reach the Hispanic community here in Denver, especially from the Catholic Church. But Centro now is focused predominantly on kind of the service element, so teaching English as a second language. They've got a legal night, which has some kind of pro bono legal aid, just for if you've got any questions about taxes or immigration or family issues or things like that. But there's also a GED class that we're doing the graduation coming up very, very soon. And then there's a online university connected to a university in Puebla, Mexico.
Yep.
And we just had the graduation for that, which was an absolute blast. We're just, have like this big dinner, and everybody's coming to celebrate the graduates we had. And they had 3 women had graduated with their bachelors, and all of them like completely rocked it. So they also got like an 80% scholarship for the masters if they want to continue their studies from UPAEP.
Yeah.
And it's just super cool to see, people just kind of grabbing life by the horns and stepping up. And so, yeah, the Centro, in one sentence, is an outreach to the Hispanic community to help them kind of integrate into society and culture here in Denver, but also to inspire leaders within the Hispanic community, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about Centro is that it's like this community center for the Hispanic community. Like like picture like in the Midwest, YMCA's and community centers are huge because like that's where your kids play their sports. That's where you have your birthday parties. That's where everything happens. That's Centro, San Juan Diego. Like if a group from a parish needs a place to go, they go to Centro. They can do whatever they need to do there. It's an amazing facility. It's beautiful.
It's an old beautiful building that was the old Sacred Heart School. And it's actually it's on the historic register site, building sites for Denver now, and it's just this beautiful brick building, and they've renovated it and brought it back up to usability, and it's super cool to be hanging out with the people and learning about the Hispanic culture and the reality of the Hispanic culture in the church here in Denver.
And fun fact, George Clooney, as a baby, actually crawled around on that stage.
No way.
At the old Sacred Heart School. Yeah, his mom was singing or something. And there's pictures of him crawling around on the stage, which is just hilarious. And speaking of George Clooney, we have with us a very special guest today, do we not?
Yeah, it is not George Clooney, but
Oh,
it is one of our own, Father Adam Bradshaw, a recently ordained priest.
Cue the applause.
Yeah. About a month, just over a month, just under a month.
Little under a month.
Just under.
Little month.
He's still fresh.
So yes, Adam Bradshaw, ordained for the Archdiocese of Denver. We brought you on because you have now flown the coop of seminary. You are out floundering through the wind.
Yeah.
And it's not like that Jack Nicholson movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's you have left your home of 7 years and you're about to go and start your ministry, right?
Yeah. Today, technically, yes.
Yeah. Incredible. Tell us a little bit about like yourself, who you are, just quickly, like kind of where you came from and what you do.
Yeah. So, I am originally from Houston, Texas.
Hey.
And so grew up there, and we moved out to Colorado in 2005 when I was about 16, and kind of no really special reason why, but in light of God's providence, it obviously there is a reason for it. And so when we moved here, we moved to Golden, and so that's where my home parish is at. That's where I worked. I worked at the Coors Brewery for about 6 years or so, and my family had not been going to Mass or anything, so growing up we never went to Mass or whatever, but there was one Christmas where my mom really wanted to go to midnight Mass, and so we went to the cathedral with Archbishop Chaput, midnight Mass, and I just remember just being so struck by it that I loved all the pomp, I loved the music and the liturgy and all that stuff, and obviously not having any idea what it is, but that really set everything in motion for me when I came here. That was 2007, Christmas of 2007. And,
Holy cow. And had you been received in the church at that point? Were you Catholic?
No. So after that moment, I was like, hey, I want to get involved. I want to check out the local parish or whatever. And so, living in Golden, I called the home. I called St. Joseph Parish there in Golden, and I said, hey, I want to check it out and things like that. They're like, well, we're already in the middle of RCA. We can't accept more people, but but you can do this or that.
Yeah.
Like there's like these Bible study groups or whatever, youth groups. They had a group called Spirit and Truth, which is sort of like a young adult adoration group, and they would go to dinner every Thursday night. And
Nice.
And then, so I did that until the following September 2008 when I joined RCA, and I was officially received into the church April 11, 2009.
And how quickly after being received into the church were you in seminary?
Well, actually, during my time in RCIA, I began to really question if this is something I wanted to do. I remember there was a point when I would go to Mass. I started picking up going to daily Mass here and there when I could, when I was working and all that. And I was like, wow, I really like what the priest up there is doing, and I didn't quite know what all that entailed, but I liked it. So even when I was at RCA, I got in contact with the vocations director, Father Jim Chrisman at the time, and very encouraging. Everything. He's like, but you got to wait 2 years, at least 2 years, and I waited 3 years, and so I entered seminary 2012. So really, my time in seminary has coincided with my time as being a Catholic, just
because you received in 2009, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then ordained to a priest to the priesthood
10 years
10
later.
years later.
10 years later, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Something poetic about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Father's first Mass, he celebrated it in Golden, the Sunday after his ordination. And the pastor, Father
Joseph
Tran, hilarious guy with this laugh that is just contagious.
Oh, yeah.
Father Adam has this beautiful voice. He's very into music. So he starts off the Mass with this beautiful entrance, in the name of the Father and of the Son. It's just like you think you're entering into this beautiful high Mass. And then Father Joseph goes to the Embo and introduces Father Adam with this. And today we have to celebrate and congratulate Father Adam Bradshaw, and he starts this huge applause, and it was hilarious, and just this really beautiful moment of like genuine joy. I was sitting in the choir with the choir, and like this kind of tear just dripped out of my eye because I was like, oh my gosh, this pastor has seen this young man grow and give his life to the church, and is now edified by the ordination of one of his spiritual sons. Like that is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but just everyone in the church was just clapping and laughing all at the same time. And then we entered into like one of the most beautiful masses that I've been to in a while, just with music, with Father's devotion to the liturgy that has really fed you so much, I'm sure, in your time in seminary.
Mm-hmm.
It was very powerful for everyone involved, whether it was the people who went to that Mass just to see you, or it was the people that were just going because it's Sunday Mass.
And they didn't even
walk in.
realize there was going to be there's going to be like 9 priests celebrating and a new baby priest celebrating his Mass celebration.
There were a number of people you'd like watch them walk in the doors in the back, and then they'd look around and be like, "What's going on?" Like you'd see an usher be like, give him a little lowdown, hand him a worship aid.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
I think that's one of my favorite things of these Masses of celebration after ordination is just seeing the community of priests that you knew well while you were in seminary, that either were formators to you or kind of leaders or guys that you walked alongside with, but had been ordained for 2 or 3 years, and then coming back and you're all priests together, and it's just super cool to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I wanted to ask you about before we kind of move past your first Mass, one of the most powerful things, I don't know about you, Jacob, for me, whenever I see a priest celebrating his first Mass of Thanksgiving, at the end of Mass, he usually has a couple gifts to give away. So one he gives typically to his father or someone close to him, either crucifix or an article of significance within the faith. And then the second one is the one that I cry every time. Most people do cry every time. When you give the, what is it called, Maniturgium, to your mother. That was, your hands were wrapped in after the bishop poured the oil over and prayed his prayers of consecration. So can you talk about that a little bit? Can you maybe explain the history of that or at all, or maybe what that is?
To be honest, I don't know much about the history, but it's kind of cool, like, when it's your turn to do it. And I remember Father Scott Bailey was the first Mass I ever went to, and because he was ordained at the end of my SY year. And that was just very beautiful Mass. I've always really liked Father Scott Bailey and all that. And when I saw that moment, I mean, you just heard all the sniffles.
Mm-hmm.
It was at Immaculate Heart of Mary in North Glen, and you just heard all the sniffles, and everybody was crying and everything. And since then, every year I've always looked forward to going to the first Masses, and so it's kind of cool. That was mostly on my mind as well. It was like, wow, this is my turn. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, and I had no idea how I was going to react. I kind of were like, I don't want to say rehearsed with myself, but kind of thought about, just gave me like, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this? And so, when it came to that moment, even when I was giving I gave a confessional stole to my brother, and the emotions just out of control. And to be honest, that's just not, I think for a lot of us, that's just not our, crying or whatever is
can't
not
cry
necessary.
in front of people.
Yeah, exactly. But it just
no
hit me.
crying
I was
in
like,
baseball or the priesthood. Come
yeah.
on.
I was like, my throat's not working. I don't know what's happening. And so, it was surprisingly really powerful. And it was, in a sense, it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But
You're up in front of everybody, and it's a special moment with your mom and your brother. But
because
a great
at your
moment of
ordination,
vulnerability.
at the ordination, the bishop pours sacred chrism on your hands,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the prayer that he's praying at that time?
And kind of
I mean, not word for word, but just kind of.
yeah, but well, he's anointing your hands in order that you may offer a pleasing sacrifice to God.
Yeah.
And what I really love about Archbishop Aquila is he loves to pour very generously.
Yeah, he lays it
your
on.
hands. And so he just dumps in both your hands, and you just see him rub. And then Father Matt McGee here is just such a great guy. I mean, he makes these maniturgiums, and they're really long, and so they just wrap, and so it's just like
a long white cloth.
You're just like, what in the world has happened? You're like walking with your hands just bound in this cloth, and we go over and we stick it like in a little bag or whatever. And it was actually what I did too at the ordination, which was an idea given by Father Matt McGee as well. Was I bought all these rosaries, and so after my hands got anointed, I gave the deacon the maniturgium, and then I robed all the rosaries too with all the sacred chrism and everything. So it was pretty cool. And then I gave them away as gifts. So I was like, here's a rosary that I touched with the chrism, and they did smell really nice for a while.
Did they?
So yeah, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like this really beautiful moment when you see the newly ordained after their hands are anointed, and they're bound, they're shackled.
Yeah.
Like a slave with their hands by the maniturgium, this long white cloth looks like a purificator. And as they walk, across the sanctuary, you really see that they are laying their life down as slaves to the church, as like we desire nothing more than to just give our lives, and you were able to do that. And that is such a powerful moment in the liturgy, at the liturgy of the ordination. And then to see that same maniturgium, that cloth, that has been wrapped in the priest's hands, a sign of his slavery, almost his self gift, and unifying himself to Jesus Christ in the priesthood. To then see the end of his first mass, him giving that to his mother, as a sign that she has raised a priest, right? That she has offered to God this priest. She has given, in a sense, like just as God gave his son, this unblemished lamb, right? This mother has given her son.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And the tradition, is my understanding, is that a mother is then buried with that maniturgium. And the tradition, the story that gets everyone crying is that when a mother dies, she's buried with this cloth. And then when she gets to heaven, she, at the gates of St. Peter's, she says, "Look, Lord, I offered you a priest, right? I gave my son for you." And it is such a powerful, powerful moment and experience for everybody, from mothers to sons to dads. I mean,
it's everybody. There's not a dry eye in the pews.
Yeah.
Tony Davis is tearing up just talking about it right now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
But it's a beautiful tradition, and I think it gets a lot of people thinking. Before I was in seminary, I'd seen that a couple times, and that was always powerful. I was like, wow, there's something real and strong there.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is jumping the gun a little bit, but another with the hands anointed. It's really cool. In Mexico, there's a tradition where after a priest is ordained, they'll just like sit there in front of the church, and all the people line up, and they just all come to you and kiss your hands. And when I was in Mexico, we were in this little parish, and I was with a family, and they were celebrating one of their cousins' baptisms at some little church in some small town. And so we went over there, and this is how it always works. They told me I was going to celebrate the Mass.
Of course.
Well, then I ended up being the celebrant. I didn't do the baptism, but the priest's like, "You want to do this? Hey, you want to preach? Whatever." Anyways, the priest was so nice, such a great guy. Anyways, at the end of the Mass, he's telling everybody, "Well, we got a new priest," or whatever. He's talking about the priesthood or whatever. So, anyways, he had me line up at the front of the church, and it was a small church, but it was packed.
Of course.
Packed full of people. And so I was just like standing there with my hands out, and everybody came up, and even these family friends that I had and things like that, and just all these people, even like little kids, I had to like really bend down
gosh.
Let them kiss my hands, and all these people, and even the priest. And it was just, for me, that was like one of the most special moments. I was just, because it was really like, they're not doing this for me. I mean, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
they're doing this for their love for the priesthood, for the love for Christ and things like that. So that was a really special moment, and took me back to the moment when, the bishop anointed my hands, like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
these are the hands that will offer the sacrifice.
It's kind of rubs against some of our sensibilities of like equality and sameness, and you hear that and maybe you're a little uncomfortable, like, well, why would you just address somebody like that and kiss their hands? But it's not your hands, like you said. I mean,
Exactly.
these become the hands of Christ for the church to
Yep.
consecrate the Eucharist, to bring the sacraments into the world, to serve as Christ served. And so to see the reverence of people towards the priesthood, towards the office of the priest, it's they're excited for baby priest. What do they call it in Spanish? The padrecito.
Yeah,
Padrecito.
Padrecito. Yeah.
The baby priest Adam, but they're excited. There's another priest. There's another priest to be Christ in the world.
Yeah. To bring them the biggest gift that God has given to the world, in our day of the Eucharist. And what a gift that truly is. It's a really beautiful experience. You get to have. Wow.
So, after ordination, you guys don't immediately start your assignment. You're coming up, starting today. What do you do between that? What's that interim look like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I really planned out what I was going to do. I'm not such a good guy with idle time, and so I wanted to really map out what I wanted to do. And so for me, it was about, well, I don't want to say cramming in as much as I could, but I wanted to make sure that I could as much as possible. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to try to go to all these different places that meant a lot to me, people that was different churches or places to celebrate masses of, Thanksgiving or whatnot. So actually that first week after ordination, it was alternating between convents and I would just go to Light of the World, where I was assigned as a deacon so I was at Sisters of Life that Monday,
Wow.
Light of the World Tuesday and Thursday, Missionaries of Charity Wednesday and Friday, and
Wow.
and then I went to Phoenix for my classmate, now Father Chris Gosson,
Oh yeah.
for his ordination, and so I was down there. It was really cool, just a week after my own ordination, and a couple things. One, like during the rite of ordination, where all the priests in a moment of solidarity go up to the newly ordained and place our hands on the head of during the laying on of hands, and it was really cool. Like, wow, I'm actually doing this, and it was, that was a really special moment, and honestly, it was really cool because it was like, wow, at this moment, I'm having to step aside, like my own, 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, of being the new priest, and and like let him be the new priest. And there was something kind of cool about that, like, wow, we're here for him, and this is his big moment, and just like knowing what that, at least in a sense, what it's like going through that, and watching now my brother priest Chris Gosson going through that. So that was a lot of fun.
It's beautiful.
And then I was there just for a few days, and then I spent 9 days after that in Mexico,
Oh,
which that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So
oh my gosh. Did you get sick at all?
I did a little bit, but it was a contained sickness, and so I got sick within, but by the time I left, I was pretty fine. So it was kind of nice.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to pivot a little bit back to
do
kind
it.
of the experience of seminary, experience of formation, and then you've got 7 years of kind of gradation to go from new seminarian and SY to deacon, and then now priest. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit of kind of that. You have that anticipation, and it gets stronger and stronger the closer you get. But then you're ordained, and like that's one day. You were a seminarian, now you're a priest. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to. I mean, I have to process it still myself.
Yeah.
But I remember when I entered, it was just sort of like this. Gosh, 7 years is going to take forever, and I already had the end in sight. I was like, you just want to be ordained, you want to be a priest, and for me, it was just sort of like these hurdles, especially in anticipation of like the academic stuff, which I just was kind of jumping into the unknown for me. So that was like a big stressful, like, even though that's not the first year of seminary, but just like knowing that's going to be in the future and most of your time in seminary. You know, that was kind of so I kind of came in with this is not really the right way to put it, but like I wasn't all that super excited because it was just like, I mean, I was excited like I'm actually starting seminary, like the process has begun, but it was just like, man, this is gonna really challenge me, and it has. But speaking now as somebody who's now been ordained a deacon and a priest, you do see, for one thing, how vital it is, and I've realized, especially in hearing confessions and you know, doing what I can to give whatever advice or guidance, I'm like, I am so thankful for the seminary formation I've got in all its dimensions. Because I'm just like, if I would have just jumped into this, I would be giving terrible advice. I wouldn't know what to say or whatever. Because, you know, it's beautiful to know that, you know, you don't have to think of these brilliant ideas. We're resting on the patrimony of the church and her wealth of teaching, of her wisdom and whatever. And for us as ministers in the church, we're simply just vessels in which that can be transmitted to the people. So really, I think that's, and I'm not saying that I always had the best disposition to let that be like, oh, I'm going to just be this bridge of what the church offers and the people who should be receiving it. But it is beautiful to think like all the teaching we go through, all the formation we go through, you know, you're really being molded. Mm-hmm. And part of that is, yes, that dying to self and all that. And I guess you can say that about any field. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, it's not like you're coming in with your brilliant ideas. I mean, you're receiving the wealth that has preceded you, and, you know, you pass that on to your patients by healing them or whatever. Really the same thing with being a priest. It's just like, how can you resign yourself to... And one of the things, too, is just it went through a lot of embarrassment, a lot of difficulties, a lot of, you know, embarrassing self-realizations about myself, my personality, deficiencies in my upbringing, deficiencies in, you know, my... what do you call it, self-esteem or whatever, you know, different psychological, spiritual, intellectual, and all its dimensions. Yeah. But it's part of just the growing pains, and it's almost like growing up again. Growing up, falling, stumbling, hurting yourself, but in the end, it's so worth it. And of course, with priesthood, it's not like, you know, Father Leonard, our rector, is very good about saying this, like priesthood, you know, he believes that priestly formation begins at the moment of ordination. So I can only imagine it's going to continue that kind of trend from this point on too. But
entering into a parish, you've got a lot. I mean, you have parish summer assignments or something, or during the year you were assigned as a deacon, but you get in as that parochial vicar, and there's hundreds of new things to learn and experiences of. Yeah. Oh, I never even thought of that as a reality of what I was going to be doing. Or
Exactly.
Well, and there's one thing, like as seminarians, we go out for 7 years and we're working in parishes, and people see you in clerics in Denver where we're clerics and like, oh, Father, can you bless this? Can you hear my confession?
You have to do that awkward. I'm a seminarian, not a priest. I can pray with you. Yeah. I can't bless your stuff.
And a lot of people are so like, no, just give me a blessing. And you're like, I can't. Yeah. You know, and I can only imagine what it's like as a priest or a deacon. You can bless, baptize, and all that. So, but going through that transformation of like, actually, yes, like because of the graces of my ordination and the mission that the Lord has given me, I can bless your rosary, I can bless your car, and it's not me giving that blessing, you know, and that's a powerful thing and a dangerous aspect as well. In the priesthood, because, you know, these lowly men, especially Adam, have been given this mission.
That's a bad short joke. me and Adam are short guys, so that's a little. Okay. We're sensitive to that, you know.
I only have a couple inches on you. Oh yeah, I'll be the medium man. No, but like God gives this mission to you. Have you experienced any of that like temptation? Some people call it clericalism, but have you experienced any of that temptation or seen it? Maybe in your past 7 years of how maybe that can go to a guy's head.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, when I was in Mexico, you're a rock star.
Yeah.
I had people asking me for my autographs
Oh my
while I
gosh.
was out there, and so yeah, it's totally easy. And part of it's, you know, part of it's a temptation, and part of it's a good thing, in the sense that,
Yeah.
you know, obviously the temptation is if you let it get to your head, if you make it about yourself. But the good thing is that that it's a special invitation, especially like you said, like, you know, when we were clerics and things like that. Yeah, sometimes you go, I mean, yeah, sometimes, you know, like you'll go to a restaurant and it's like, you know, you get the bill and the waitress is like, you know, oh, somebody picked it up for you. It's like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes that happens, but there's other times when, you know, wearing the clerics, as simple as wearing the clerics, for example, it just invites people because they see you're there. And part of it, honestly, for me, is sometimes uncomfortable because I'm just like, oh, people are staring at me.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just in your head, maybe nobody's looking at you, and you're just like, people are looking at me,
Super
and like nobody's
uncomfortable.
looking at you. But so yeah, but take what's good, and obviously try to avoid the temptation to, you know, make it about yourself. And
Yeah.
it's so easy. I've definitely done it. I've definitely have, you know, taken advantage of the goodness of the people that, you know, that want to honor you,
Mm-hmm.
honor the office.
Yeah.
But in a sense, again, just accept the invitation for what it is, that, you know, that we are ministers of the church, and let people honor you for that. So,
And on the
Yeah.
flip side, it's not a normal or super common experience, but you receive anger or
Oh yeah.
or people who have been wounded by the church, or somebody in the church see you in clerics, and you're public enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a bunch of different stuff yelled at me when I was just like walking from my car to the cathedral, because I was in clerics for some, you know, I was singing in the choir or something, and
Mhm.
or even at down at Centro, I was helping celebrate a mass at Sacred Heart, and it's like right off the Larimer, or not Larimer, I can't remember the street, but
Yeah,
the
Rhino District, right.
District, and so there were like three of us in clerics, and a car drove by, and it did not have nice feelings about the church,
Yeah.
and we heard it out the window. So
And you have an option there. You can
yeah.
either like give the one finger salute, or you can
you
like,
can
accept that.
even if you don't react like externally to them, you can kind of react internally very negatively and
Oh,
be like,
yeah.
if he only knew, and I was just, you just kind of like
Mhm.
murmur and mumble at him, or you can say like, Lord, thank you for taking a small part of your humiliation, a small part of your way with the cross, and the mockery of the soldiers, or whatever it may be, and that also sanctifies us and keeps us from becoming those arrogant, like,
Yes.
oh yeah, it's all about me, and everybody loves me, and well, when not everybody loves you and they're yelling at you, that kind of keeps you humbled and keeps
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
grounded. So it feels like an attack, but at the same time, it can be a huge gift when you receive kind of that maybe that anger, or that lashing out against you.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for us, you know, as men studying to be priests, and as a newly ordained. It's a huge opportunity for us internally and externally to give people Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's an incredible gift. But yeah, you'll experience that. Especially Denver's this hip, up and coming city. It's pretty Catholic, generally. People, I mean, I've experienced a lot of hate as well,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think our culture is moving to this place where we're less like people are less courageous. If we're being honest,
in general, with everything,
In general-
everybody's just kind of passive about everything.
Yeah.
Because like we're only in Denver, it's only like 20% Catholic.
yeah,
It's not like we're this huge Catholic city that was like 80,
Historically
90% Catholic historically, and has been drifting or whatever. We've never really been that Catholic, and we're still not numbers wise that Catholic. But Denver's like super quote unquote tolerant, you know,
Yeah.
of anything. So you tell them what you're doing, and you're like, oh, I meet like Uber drivers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're like they drop me off at Seminary, and like, wait, what is this place? And I'm like, oh, this is the Catholic Seminary. I'm studying to be a Catholic priest. And I'm like, wait, what? You know?
yeah,
And then they're kind of awkward, but they're usually just like, oh, look, that's cool, good for
Yeah.
you, you know?
yeah. I
Yeah.
actually prefer when people like actually tell me what they think. Like when people are aggressively angry. I'm like, sweet, thank you for being human.
And you can actually have a real conversation as
Yeah.
opposed to this pleasant niceness that
Yeah.
gets no one anywhere.
Exactly. Oh, that's great. And they don't tell you that like on social media they're posting all this slander against the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
but they're just when they see you, they don't want to tell you.
Yeah, and I try to do. I mean, when the opportunity arises, like, look, don't be afraid to ask awkward questions. I mean, this is like a good opportunity. Like, if you have any of these questions about Catholicism, just go ahead and ask them. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to be offended. This is our life, and so I mean, you'd have to go pretty far, I guess, if you want to offend us. But it's a beautiful thing that to try to speak the church truth of what we believe and what we live and everything. So it's good to invite people, to that, even the uncomfortable questions.
Mm-hmm. And that's the gift, Father, that you are able to give to the church right now in this era, is a vocation, a young vocation, on fire for the faith. And people see you and they think, why is this young guy a priest? What does he see in the church? And it opens doors that otherwise wouldn't be opened. And that is such a beautiful gift that you have given the church. And I'm very excited. And that's one of the beautiful things about the seminary. We're just surrounded by these young guys pursuing the priesthood, and older guys as well. But it opens doors, right? We're human. So when people see you, with your hair, your language, like you grew up with these people, and it's like, why is he a priest nowadays? Why is he a priest? And it opens questions in their mind, and then maybe they'll be open to conversation one day. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's a beautiful
Exactly.
thing.
And it's been super cool. You've been back around seminary a few times, and the guys that are here, you've said mass for us, and there's just something kind of almost. It's not weird. It's normal. It's natural. It's cool because I Deacon Adam last year on the house at the end of the hall, kind of house uncle for the seminary house here, and then like he's ordained, and Father Adam, he's saying mass for us, and it's not this weird like, oh wow, or like, man, I know how much he still has to learn. Like he's not. It's none of that. It's just like, wow, this is cool. This was a brother I walked with who's now a father in the church who's leading us. But there's still this kind of camaraderie and this connectedness because of our shared experience in seminary, and that's been super cool.
And y'all will see that too. I mean, that you'll see, especially as you see the guys you've been in seminary with longer, being ordained. And it's just kind of more surreal. Like, man, this guy I've been in seminary with all this time is being a priest and everything. I mean, that's really, honestly, one of the joys of my time here in seminary is like, kind of in the rustle, just in the craziness of, going through studies and all these things. But then at the end of it, you see these people in all the different dioceses, which that's cool too, like being able to go to the different dioceses and seeing like these guys in their home turf, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you see them be ordained, and then you go to their first masses or whatever, or they come back and they offer masses here in the seminary or wherever you see them, and it's just like really surreal, and it gives you hope yourself while you're in priesthood formation, seminary formation. Like, wow, this, okay, my time is coming, and I would say too, at least this is my experience. People have different experiences, but the priest ordination was not as dramatically different for me as like diaconate.
Yeah.
Just because like at the end of diaconate, everybody's like asking for blessings and stuff. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Whereas after being a priest, you're kind of more or less used to it in a sense. But in a sense, I was kind of disappointed. I didn't feel that like hit, because I thought, when is it gonna hit me? Okay, during the ordination, I'm like, okay, it hasn't hit me. Okay, maybe my first man. Okay, no, it hasn't hit me or whatever. But and there have been some hit me moments, like, wow, this is real, like I'm a priest. But in a sense, I think I'm pretty content that it just feels kind of normal. It's like, this is what we study for.
Yeah.
This is what we've been training for. This is what I've been looking forward to. So in a sense, it's just like, let's just
It almost be
just get
strange
going.
if it was like a shock to your
yeah,
system.
because you're like, what have I done?
Seven
What
years
terrible
then,
thing have I done?
oh, I'm a priest.
Yeah. So, and again, I mean, people have different experiences, so
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was kind of a disappointment for me during that weekend. Was like I didn't get that aha moment. But as I reflect on it, I'm like, no, it's just no. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm just content with just.
You're just resting in
going
that
through this.
identity. You're now a priest,
Yeah.
conformed to Christ, and you're living that life.
Yeah.
And just doing the same thing that priests who have been priests for 50 years have been, celebrating Mass, hear confessions, and just like, wow, this is going to be the rest of my life. And yeah, things will change, parishes, maybe a pastor one day, whatever, this or that. But the bare bones of it, just celebrating Mass, hearing confessions, whatever, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's kind of, I've been reflecting on John, the apostle, the beloved, because in a sense, that's almost like what seminary is like. Like he's always around, he's always present, he's always being formed. And then at the end, he just goes forth, right? You don't hear too often in the Gospels or the epistles about the crazy stuff that John's doing, right?
Yeah.
Because he is just a disciple, an apostle of Jesus Christ. And he's been formed over his time living with Jesus, pursuing his heart. And in a sense, that's almost like what the priesthood, at seminary is like, if you're doing it right, the right way, then you're just pursuing the Lord's heart, right?
Yeah.
You're pursuing getting closer and closer to his sacred heart every day. So then when you're ordained, just as John is just following Jesus and Peter on the beach at the end of the Gospels, that's the priesthood. You continue to follow Jesus, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I look forward to, and that's what I see in the young priests like yourself and the priests that I respect a lot that are ordained is, they just accept this role that the Lord has given them in humility and with desire to pursue his heart, his sacred heart. So
yeah, one of the cool things too, and this hit me when I was ordained, was like, this is just not some individual path, being formed by the community, the seminary community, teachers, formators, apostolate supervisors, or people you worked in apostolates. So at my ordination first Mass, you see like the parish, all the different parishes you worked with, all the different groups, and you just see all these people come together that have supported you all these years. And it's just really cool to like see that, how it's all coming together. And then, now that as I begin to get ready to go into this new parish, it's like, okay, well, all these new people are going to come into my life and everything. So you really see like, it isn't just like, okay, this is my journey, but there's like so many different people, so many different groups that are involved in this. And it's so beautiful to see. And I really look forward to this for you guys. Is like, you'll see just how it all culminates together. And they're there for you. And that's kind of cool. It's like, this is like the general aspect, like this is for the church, I'm giving my life, but it's for you too. It's, you have a place in this role in the process of salvation of souls. Like, and it's like God chose you. And so it's really cool. Bask in that. I encourage guys who are in seminary or whatever, that there is something special about like, and take it in, soak it in as an act of thanksgiving. Not, obviously if you take it in as like, me, but give it as an act of thanks to God. Like, this is really something to celebrate. And if we want the world to celebrate Catholicism and the priesthood, we need to be able to give thanks to that too. For that.
Praise God. Amen. Yeah.
Well, Father Adam, you're still in my phone as Deacon Adam. So every time you text, I
don't want to say who, but I still have a priest under deacon as well. He's been ordained for like 7 years. So.
Like I was texting you to set this up the other day, and I was in the car with some of the other guys, and they were like, "Hey, who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Deacon Adam," and they're like, "Father," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, he's still Deacon in my my phone. It's not official till I change it."
Deacon forever.
But thanks for coming on, sharing that. Just kind of your experience on that transition from seminarian to priest, to baby priest, Padrecito, to be kind of flying the coop, flapping your wings on your own a little bit. And it's going to be cool to see you settle into your parish in the next couple months. And
I'm a peacock. I just want to fly.
Gotta let me fly.
Come visit Spirit of Christ sometimes.
So.
Spirit of Christ, that's where we can find you.
Spirit of Christ Arvada, yeah.
All
Spirit
right.
of Christ.
Yep.
And thanks for being on. Any last words, Tony, Adam?
No, that's all I got. Other than, that's it. I'm
Other
not
than
going to bring.
that's
I'm not
it.
going to bring up the cat situation.
The cat situation. You just did.
Okay.
What's the cat situation? All right,
I
we'll
wanna
close
hear
with the cat.
You know,
We'll
it's
close with
so.
cat situation.
If I can just say, like, somehow there's this reputation with me and my cat. There was some guys here in the seminary who've been ordained for a few years, and they were just kind of huddled up talking. And I'd say, like, "Hey guys, what are y'all talking about?" "Well, just your fat cat." It's like it's like my cat is a topic of conversation. And even when I was in Mexico, the people were like, say hi to your mom for me and say hi to your cat too. I'm
How
like,
much did you talk about your cat? Down in
I didn't
Mexico?
realize. Maybe it's just like a subconscious thing. I'm just always talking about my cat, and I just don't know. But
So backstory,
anyways.
I bring that up because Father Adam, even since I met him, one of the first things I knew about him is that he had this cat. He likes cats. And he's been looking forward to being ordained and being able to have his cat in his rectory. Your cat's been living with your mom. Is that
all
correct?
this year,
Staying at her mom's house. But your pastor, allergic to cats.
Yeah,
So
ironic.
So we'll see. Maybe in 3 years when you get assigned again, you'll be able to.
Oh yeah. Well,
cat with
let's
you.
hope. Yeah.
so that's one thing I love about Father Adam is the cat inside joke of the fat cat.
Sometimes I get called Adam Catshaw, so I get.
That is a real thing. You are not allowed to call him Father Adam Catshaw. That would be Father Adam or Father Bradshaw to everybody out there. So.
Well, thanks for tuning in again to Sons of Ours with
Yes.
an A. I learned finally.
Yes.
With an A.
Yes, you read the script
I
correctly.
read the script, and so yeah, Micah and Ian are still off trying to learn Spanish.
Yeah,
My
pray for them.
secret kind of private goal is to learn more Spanish at Centro than the guys who are actually out on immersions. I don't know if it's going that well, but so
You can make it happen. All right.
so
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
tuning
much.
in. We'll catch you next time.
All right.